environment and natural resources about this complaint. Remember, there is a task force on environment. So this complainant writes from Ibadan North, and he leaves his comment on my or your app. He says there is terrible air pollution of heavy smokes going on daily basis at Bashonu Market by the meat sellers who burn tires to prepare the meat they sell. This is apart from heaps of refuse in the area. He says health inspectors are not effective in this area when they come. He says the marketers contribute money and do some clearing, and that is all. It is my hope that something be done about this, he concludes. So go on my or your app. I know some of us don't have enough memory to download new apps, but you can participate on the app by browsing on the app's website, myoryourapp.com.ng. It gives you the same function. Engage the app. It's not just about complaining. You can also talk about initiatives to help the state. Remember, it's my app. It's your app. It's our app. It is about participating in governance. On the app, there is another complaint. This one is entitled Akpete Awoton Akufo Road Need Urgent Attention. He says the Akpete Awoton Akufo Road in Ido local government is in a state of total decay. The complainant says the governor promised work will start on the road few months ago, but nothing has been done. I quote him, "I am using this medium to call on the state government to beam its searchlight in this part of the state, and work should commence as soon as possible. We are calling on the government." You'll find that complaint on my or your app. Akpete Awoton Akufo Road need urgent attention. Now let's look at this. The Asaba Massacre. It is about history. I do this so that we can learn from history. And the Nigerian Civil War remains the biggest crisis that ever befell the Nigerian state. What are the lessons to learn from that war? Because it seems the issues that caused the war still linger. You hear ethnic tension everywhere. So we need to learn some lessons. Asaba Massacre is an event of the Nigerian Civil War, when Nigerian military officers, including Ibrahim Haruna and Murtala Muhammad, rounded up and shot defenseless men and boys to make a point. It was one of the horrors of the war. But they say war is war. No more war. In continuation of my investigation of the events of the war, I raised the issue with Major Razaki Salau, a war veteran.
That started from the northern sector towards the east. Later, Murtala Mohammed started from the west towards the east.
Moved to Asaba.
Moving to Asaba.
And you remember the Asaba Massacre?
I remember it very well.
You remember?
I remember it very well.
What can you remember about the Asaba Massacre?
Well, you have not allowed me to finish with the massacre. The massacre, if that's what will interest you, is that people at the higher authority who see more than the people who are fighting itself, they believe that there was tactical error, serious tactical error. Tactical error. The error includes logistics, which was not well planned. Includes, manpower. So the crossing was a failure because of that tactical error. when I talk about tactical error, it's all embracing. There are quite a number of things that can lead to tactical error. And that's what happened when Muhammad want to cross to Onitsha. So they move in there. Onitsha is a core Igbo land. So people were trying to move and capture all those areas at that time, which they succeeded eventually in capturing.
There were two massacres in Asaba. One was the crossing. One was the Nigerian army killing children, families in Asaba.
There are so many stories that cannot be substantiated. So many stories. The crossing of Nigerian troops to Asaba was a real disaster.
Disaster?
Yes, it was.
How many men died?
Quite a number of people were not even killed, but they want to escape. The only means of escaping is to go back to the river and jump in there. Most of them cannot swim. So they died along with the current of the river that took them away. Not necessarily by firing. The rate of firing against the federal troops that time was not as heavy as the number of people who died, because most people have to jump back to the stream to escape. But they couldn't, because they are not good fighters. Northerners are not good fighters. Even Yorubas are not good swimmers, and so on and so forth. So that's why the one that we are talking about that was propaganda from Ikokundem, most of those things were mere propaganda. I'm not saying it is not. I'm not saying it's totally false, but then it carries over 70% of false story. Ikokundem was a classified, malicious broadcaster. He's good in propaganda. It is Kokondem that made even African country to go against Nigeria.
So Biafra had a very good propaganda tool.
Excellent. I've never come across anyone like that.
They were good in propaganda.
Yeah, particularly through Ekokondem. Ekokondem was a first-class malicious propagandist. He's too good in that. When he's talking about massacre of pregnant women, people in the hospital, and the rest of that, without seeing it, massacre is massacre, murder is murder, killings, of innocent people, and the rest of that. I was in the front. The rate at which that propaganda was actually moving virally around the world, there is no reason. There is no way the world power can support us, saying they are slicing pregnant women and taking the child away before.
You still got the support of
live.
Major Razaki Salau was of the Resi Unit, 3rd Marine Commando during the war. He was the commander of the armored unit. He talks about the use of propaganda by Biafra to convince the world about the massacre. Olushanu was Nigeria's ambassador to Ethiopia during the time. He corroborates Salau's view on the use of propaganda.
Emperor's personality was what held Ethiopia together.
Is it that he did not believe the Biafran message of genocide ringing on the international stage at the time?
If you read the book, you will see that instead of trying to base the book on the strength of the antagonist, I really used the personality of the warring partners, Ojukwu and Gowon. And I said, Ojukwu's personality made it more difficult for the OAU to believe him, to accept his position. He was arrogant. He was arrogant as opposed to the rather cool image of Gowon, whom people seem to believe when he says, look, this is what I'm fighting for. I'm not here to kill Biafrans. I am trying to people to accept Article 3 of the Charter. That's all.
Biafrans were being killed in their numbers.
Yes.
Because in the book, the emperor even confronted you, saying Does Gowon want to finish the Biafrans before he ends the war?
Yes, that is true. One of my difficulties, I said in the book. But I said that, look, that one of the weaknesses on the side of the government was the use of propaganda as a tool for the war. No doubt about on that side, Ojukwu won because he was able to marshal his propaganda completely against the federal government. But he had on the side the Catholic Church, because most of the people in the East are Catholics. He had on the side the Scandinavian countries, and these are the people that added to my problem as ambassador to Ethiopia at that time.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Ambassador Luciano there. He would later become Nigeria's ambassador to the United States. Otumba Jumoke Ogunkeyede is the author of the book A Moment in Time, a life experience in the art of survival, politics, humanity, and activism. In the book, he calls himself a rebel who fights for the rights of man. In the struggle for the actualization of June 12, his house in the United States of America was firebombed. He accuses the Sani Abacha government of carrying out the heinous act. The June 12 struggle brought Jumoke Ogunkeyede close to the statesman, Chief Anthony Enahoro. They became allies working to protect the future of the Nigerian state. Enahoro is renowned for his contribution to Nigerian politics. He moved the motion for Nigeria's independence in 1953. Anthony Enahoro was one of the members of the action group sentenced to prison alongside Obafemi Awolowo in the infamous treasonable felony trial of 1963. He was appointed Nigeria's Minister of Information, having been pardoned and released from prison by the Yakubu Gowon government regime, or by the Yakubu Gowon government. That was during the Nigerian Civil War. In this interview, Ogunkeyede reminds us of Enahoro's visit to London during the Nigerian Civil War, revealing how he was reprimanded by the British Prime Minister, who condemned the killings of children in Asaba and other parts of Biafra land. In your book, you said Enahoro believed that if Murtala Muhammad had spent more than 6 months in office as head of state, his reign would have been a study in misrule.
Definitely.
The same Murtala Muhammad?
The same Murtala Muhammad. Because example is when Chief Enahoro was sent as head of delegation to London to source funding for the Biafran War. And when they were in the presence of the Prime Minister, Harold Wilson, he said, Britain will not support the war in Nigeria as is. And they asked him why. He said, because your generals are killing children in the war front. Chief Enahoro said, he asked him, do you have any proof? He said, Harold Wilson opened his drawer, brought out some pictures. The head of Murtala Muhammad and his cohorts put guns to the head of 12, 13-year-old boys, killing them.
But he was known to be ruthless, though.
Yes.
Especially during the second coup. The counter coup.
Yes, and that's why the man said, we will not give you money until you tell your generals in the war front to stop killing children.
And when Enahoro came back to Nigeria and reported to the military council?
Chief Enahoro saw Joseph Akinwale Way as his mentor, his godfather, his big brother. Gave him a not unofficial report of the joy of the trip and wondered how he should present it at the Supreme Military Council. And Joseph Akinwale Way, who was the head of the Navy then, just told Chief Enahoro, why don't you discuss it with your leader first? That leader was Chief Awolowo. And he said he discussed with Awolowo, and Chief Awolowo said, present it as is during the next military council when you have to make your report about your trip to Britain. On presenting it, he had to now back it up with the pictures. Gawan was the head of state. Murtala Muhammad was part of the Supreme Military Council. At a point in time, Murtala Muhammad stood up and started banging on the table. Who are you talking about, you bloody civilian? At that time, he talked with a harsh and strong voice.
One could not control him.
Gawan admitted that it was the most difficult to control.
Because they brought him to power.
Yes, they brought him to power.
Gawan wasn't part of the coup.
No, Gawan
was Murtala Muhammad and co.
Yeah, it was because they didn't know who should take over amongst the core northerners that they said, let's use this gentleman, this young man.
And he could not control them.
He could not. So
and they finally booted him out in 1975.
They did. They had to bring Gawan in who was at that time almost approaching Ghana to head the Nigerian system. Also, when he said that, Awolowo now whispered to Gawan, please control your man. But Gawan could not. At that time, Awolowo stood up and walked out of that meeting, followed by his group. Enahoro and the rest of them followed suit. And so Gawan went and appealed to Awolowo to come back and said, no, we will not come back unless you're able to tame this your shrewd. You must tame him. And he confessed to Awolowo it's difficult to tame him. Then he said, then talk to whoever can tame him. I will not come back. So Gawan had to talk to the emirs, who were like demigods at that time, and they told him to Aplo. And they moved him out of Lagos. And so Gawan was able to go back to what he was doing.
And he dealt with Enahoro in his own way. When he became head of state, he seized Enahoro's house.
He went to Enahoro's house and took away the generators and things like that. I said to spite him. And if not for the emirs, he probably would have had Chief Enahoro killed or kidnapped or jailed or something.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
General Yakubu Gowon was Nigeria's head of state during the Nigerian Civil War. Speaking with newsmen in 2002, after the South-South Zonal National Prayer Rally in Asaba tendered a public apology about the massacre. In his words, it came to me as a shock when I came to know about the unfortunate happenings to the sons and daughters of this state, especially this Asaba domain. Gowon continues, I felt very touched and honestly, I referred to the killings and I asked for forgiveness, being the one who was in charge that time. Certainly, it's not something that I would have approved of in whatsoever. I was made ignorant of it. Let's go on there, talking about the Asaba Massacre. Gowon made that statement in Asaba. Testifying at the Oputo panel, Major General Ibrahim Haruna did not see any reason to apologize over the event. He states emphatically, as the commanding officer and leader of the troops that massacred 500 men in Asaba, I have no apology for those massacred in Asaba, Owerri, and Ameke Intem. I acted as a soldier maintaining the peace and unity of Nigeria, he declares. If General Yakubu Gowon apologized, Haruna continues, he did it in his own capacity. As for me, I have no apology. Remember, Ibrahim Haruna was the general officer commanding 2 divisions of the army during the war. Walking you down the lane of history. History is beautiful. When was the last time you read a book? If you don't know where you are coming from, how do you then tell me that your analysis is sound enough? I want to see, because it's the understanding of history that gives you a better understanding of why we are where we are. On the front page of the Saturday Punch, Senate probes fresh multi-billion naira fraud in NDDC. Panel to grill MD Wednesday over funds unaccounted for. Buhari decries abuse of trust in EFCC and NDDC. Ondo poll, Akeredolu running mates meet Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu. Fasomi instructed us to bury him in same tomb with mum. Why we take loans from China, Amechi speaks. You find that on the front page of the Punch. My father was stoned, burnt to death, son of slain Akwa Ibom village herd. Very sad. Have you heard the story of Modupe Oyetosho? They shot at her friend, and Modupe was kidnapped. It happened in Lanlate. She is a farmer. He was a farmer. On their way from the farm, tragedy struck. Who will wipe Modupe's tears? Kule Jimba, will you wipe Modupe's tears? Will you wipe Modupe's tears?
Good morning, Edmund. It's actually unfortunate what happened to that lady. I listened to the program last week, and it further reinforces the trend we are seeing currently, where the young minds, the middle class, are migrating away from Nigeria. Just this morning, you hear youth saying, I need visa. Nigeria is no longer a country. Nigeria used to be a country, but not anymore.
Not anymore. I recommend a book to you. There Was a Country, a personal history of Biafra, written by Chinua Achebe. There Was a Country. Kunle Jimba is the author of the book The Switch, Perspective to Success. Why did you write this book, Kunle?
Sometimes in 2018, I had a discussion with a young professional. He just graduated, joined the employment, and we're discussing about life generally. So I discovered that his perception about success was somewhat thwarted. He was already looking at things people that had spent about 20 years in service had acquired. And this is someone who just joined for less than 3 months.
He was ambitious.
He was ambitious. So he was running ahead of his own race. He had no clear cut of what he is meant to do at every point in time and the steps he's meant to climb.
But he has seen people who do little and make so much money.
That's the perverse in our society, and that's why we need to correct all these ills. Honestly.
You are a banker.
Yes, I am.
You see a lot of money every day. How does it make you feel?
Well, if you're not you will get carried away, and you get carried away with the illusion of getting rich syndrome.
You said reading.
Yes, reading.
What does reading do to the mind?
Reading enriches the mind. Reading is the food of the mind. For you to build your mind, there's a connection between your mind and your soul. In your soul, you have the mind, you have the heart working. Now, 3 things happens in the soul. You have intelligence, you have reason, and then you have passion. Intelligence and reason, they belong to the mind. Passion comes from the heart. So if you do not feed that mind with things that are constructive, with things that are positive, you channel your passion to the wrong thing. And that is why you have the likes of young boys channeling their passion to yahoo, and channeling their passion to things that are not constructive in the world. And that is why you have militancy, because they fed their mind with wrong things. Militancy developed into insurgency and later metamorphosed into what we call terrorism in the country. It is because people are not reading, or they are perhaps reading the wrong things. If you go into our society today, you can read the positives and you can read the negatives. Like you just mentioned, someone just started work. What he's reading is the achievement of people who have worked for over 20 years. But what he's not understanding is the toil, is the effort that they've put into their life, into their career to achieve those things. So he's just seeing those things there and he feels, oh, it's something I can get within the twinkle of an eye.
Let's look at this together. Albert Einstein says imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Will Rogers says everybody is ignorant only on different subjects.
Yes, that's very correct. Imagination is very, very powerful because it comes from your innate ability. It is what you think of. It is what your mind can reproduce. And there's a saying that says whatever the mind can conceive, it can always achieve. So imagination is very powerful.
Let's look at this together. The point of teaching is to control your own mind. Restrain your mind from greed, and you will keep your body right. Your mind pure and your words faithful. Always thinking of the transiency of your life, you'll be able to desist from greed and anger and will be able to avoid all evils. This is coming from Gautama Buddha.
I wonder if our politicians or our leaders can actually memorize this phrase such that it sinks into them, and then they will behave differently when they get to position of power. When you read, when you're thought, it purifies your actions. It guides your behavior. You understand? That people, you wonder, someone who is a professor, a renowned person in the society, suddenly gets power. And within 6 months, this person is totally corrupted. Now, there's no way you can exonerate yourself as a leader when things are going wrong under you, because you have the moral obligation to set the record straight. And that is what is unfortunate in our society today.
On page 8 of your book, you talk about the process to self-discovery. Tell me more.
Process to self-discovery, it's very simple because everything starts from the mind. It's garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you feed your mind in is what you will produce as a person. So if you look at chapter 1 of that book that says, who are you? Everything starts with that. If you cannot define who you are, if you cannot define yourself in the context of the environment where you found yourself, it is most unlikely for you to succeed.
So how do I discover myself?
That is by researching and reading. That guides you. When you research, when you read, you can dimension the things that has happened in the past. Like you always say that everybody should go back to history. Everybody should go and rediscover what has happened in the generations before me, ahead of me. How do I know who I am? If you take a lot of books and you read, you will discover that, oh, this has actually happened. This was the way it was solved. We talked about the Nigerian Civil War. As anybody in this country or contemporary people nowadays, do they even bother to go into history to see what happened to Nigeria between 1960, 1963, 1965, up to First Republic and up to this republic where we are? Do we even bother to find out where we got it wrong? at all. And if you don't know where you've missed it, it is unlikely for you to find a solution in the future.
Your book also talks about the characteristics of success.
Yes.
So how do I know a successful person?
Well, for you to know a successful person, there are various characteristics of success. One is that there are misconceptions about success. Everybody cannot be Bill Gates. Everybody cannot be Dangote. Everybody cannot be Edmund Obilo. So you have to set your own standards. And when you set your own standards, this will help you not to run another person's race. So you can then monitor your own stepping stones. You can monitor your own milestones. You can monitor your own achievement based on the standards you've set for yourself. So it is very important for you to know how successful you are. Then you must be able to say, I've set for myself these 10 steps. Now I'm on level 1, I'm on level 2, I'm on level 3. That is the only way you can set your own standard and achieve your own success. Otherwise, you will see success as a mirage. You just keep chasing it and it keeps going further. You keep chasing and it keeps going further because you really don't have a standard that you are following on.
On the front page of The Guardian, 10 dead, 5 rescued, 4 missing in Lagos boat mishap. Buhari pledges more resources to deal with insecurity. President Buhari reminds me of insecurity. Whenever Buhari talks about insecurity, I remember Babagana Zulum, the governor of Borno State, gunshot in Baga.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, that was gunshot as the governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, was making his way into Baga town. And he was confronted with those shots. After he came to safety, he accused the military of complicity in that attack. He was angry. He was very angry. And he took on the commanding officer.
Shooting that has happened this afternoon is between the Nigerian military, maybe and our police officers.
No. We did the clearance, me and the sector commander. No. We saw where they were. And
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Speaking on the attack, Zulum says, as far as I'm concerned, what happened in Baga is complete sabotage by the military. There is no Boko Haram in Baga. Kunle, what do you think?
This is shocking, like in a war film. Gunshot. If a governor could be attacked in such a manner, there was a hope for a common man in Borno State. This is really, really shocking. And now, you see, last week we heard the story of Army General they see is saying that if Nigerians want this war to end, it can end now. I consider that statement irresponsible, because they've been given all the resources to end this war, and we still keep seeing that this war is being escalated day in, day out. A governor attacked in the broad daylight, then there's no hope for common man in Borno State.
And I must commend the channel's journalists that captured the scene. You could see the way they were trying to smuggle the governor into the armored vehicle. You know, how can your book help solve the national problem?
This is a tricky question. 7 chapters followed each other chronologically. If we take a cue from the first chapter to the last chapter, we can actually start what we call a national reorientation in the society. Chapter 1 says, who are you? Can you define yourself? When you move to chapter 2, it says, what do you want? If you can define yourself to say, this is who I am, then you can start to set your own aspiration. As a country, do we even know who we are in the Community of Nations around the world? Nigerians are doing exploits all over the world. How come it is a different story when it comes to Nigeria? Nigerians are excelling all over the world. How come when they come to Nigeria, it is a different ballgame, we can't excel? That means we don't even know who we are as a nation. What do you want? When you can define yourself, then you can say, this is what we want as a nation. By now, China shouldn't be the one giving us a clause signing off our sovereignty because they are lending us money or because they are doing project for us. Imagine they say Lagos alone generates about 40 billion monthly. So if you look at it all around the country, are we saying we don't have enough resources that we can use to develop our own infrastructure? Look at the quantum of amount of money we're discussing in NDDC that is being siphoned. Look at monies missing all over, everywhere. At some point, Sanusi, the former CBN governor, said about $20 billion was missing in NNPC, a contract that was signed. All these monies put together can actually develop the infrastructure of Nigeria. So what do we want as a country? What are the characteristics of success? That is chapter 3. If you see success in other countries, our governors, our leaders, they go to other countries. They queue. They are on the train. They behave like a common man. There's a leveler for everybody.
If you go to Rome, you behave like Romans.
Behave like Romans. So why can't we bring that behavior back into Nigeria and make our country, our society, a sane place?
All right, before Kunle goes, can you say hello to Kunle? The lines are open 08091551055. You can also call 08056998678. Remember, you can speak on any of the subjects. Say hello to the radio station. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Comrade Sade Modagbe from UI.
Comrade Sade Modagbe from UI.
With that said, can you say that are we not moving from fragile from faith state? That's one question. Secondly, I think the National Assembly should rise up to the expectation that to interrogate this beekeeping service chief. Because somebody was calling on radio that if Buhari should remove there, it's going to be overthrown. Thank you very much.
Hello. Okay, Sado Modagbe, you called. I'll be giving you a copy of Kunle's book, The Switch. That's for Sado Imodagbe. So Sado Imodagbe, you have a book from Kunle Jimba. It is entitled The Switch, Perspective to Success. Do we have another caller there? Hello?
How are you? My name is SB. You're bothering from Africa.
Good to hear your voice.
I want to salute your courage of being a positive prophet. Hello?
You?
Yeah. I want to salute your courage for being a prophet that confesses positively about the future of our nothing gets completely spoiled with God. I think that's the only consolation. Nothing gets completely spoiled with God.
All right. Thank you. You have made your point, sir. You have made your point.
I'm grateful.
Thank you. Yes, I also understand the fear of the future, no doubt. But the point is defeatist. Are you saying Boko Haram cannot be defeated? Are you saying we cannot stamp out corruption? Are you saying we cannot build a Nigeria that can compete with China? Are you saying Nigeria cannot lift Africa out of poverty? Have you done your research and see the resources, the human resources? From what I see, Nigeria is coming. Wait for it. Nigeria is coming. It's not wishful thinking. We will make it happen. Oyo State can be finer than Dubai. That's the point I'm making. When you think, because we elect men of little minds, they think of little things. They think of just boreholes. And because of that, you feel it cannot happen. That is why you use generators you cannot manufacture. Who were the men that built Singapore? Did they fall from heaven? Who were the men that built the United States? Did they come from the seas? Who were the men that built South Korea? They were not born by women? What are we talking about? How do you lose hope on your state? In times of hardship, few men and women will emerge and take their countries out of the wood. Nigeria is coming. Kule Jimba will just have to go.
Thank you very much, Edmund. Nigeria is coming, I believe so. And if you look at the trend of events today, why is it that people are not really affected with all these lootings going around? The simple answer is that the economy is run by the private sector. People don't depend on government. It tells you that Nigerians, we have the capacity to bring this country out of the wood. We're just waiting for that leader to assume office and change the paradigm and change the mindset. Nigeria is coming, I agree with you, and better days ahead of us. Thank you, Edmund, for having me.
Thank you. Kunle Jimba is the author of the book, The Switch. I was supposed to give that last caller a copy of your book. I hope I can remember his name. Oh, I can't remember his name now. Okay, perhaps I'll give it to another caller. Kunle, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Splash FM 105.5.
Káfẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kún ẹ̀bùn ní sọ ní dẹni yìí láwùjọ láti wá di gbajúgbajà nídìí iṣẹ́ ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ Yes Media Academy ní kó o máa bọ̀. Ìgbaniwọlé ti wá ń lọ lọ́wọ́ fún sáà ètò ẹ̀kọ́ 2020-2021 sáwọn ìlànà ẹ̀kọ́ bíi Basic Media Class fáwọn tó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀, Master Media Class fún àwọn akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́, Media Management Class fún àwọn ọ̀gá àgbà nílé iṣẹ́ ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ tó fi mọ́ Executive Class fáwọn tó ti rọ́wọ́ họrí tó fẹ́ mọ̀ nípa iṣẹ́ ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ ní Yes Media Academy. A ó kọ́ lákọ̀ọ́dojú ní Broadcasting, Advertising, Media Management, Public Relations àti Public Speaking. Láti wá kópa nínú sáà ètò ẹ̀kọ́ 2020-2021 10,000 naira lẹ́ẹ̀fì gba fọ́ọ̀mù ìgbaniwọlé ní Yes Media Academy tó wà ní Yemi Sonde Media House, Yemi Sonde Crescent, Fẹ́lẹ́lẹ̀ Express Bus Stop, Fẹ́lẹ́lẹ̀ Ìbàdàn. Tàbí kẹ́ kàn sí wa lórí ayélujára www.ysclimited.com/form. Telephone 0809-9902-666, 0902-9304-704 tàbí 0803-5529-883 ní Yes Media Academy. Wá di gbajúgbajà lórí afẹ́fẹ́.
Babe, Grain Smart. Is it a flavor?
No, it's a special mix of vitamins and iron in Golden Morn.
But I thought Golden Morn was made from maize and soya.
Yes, Niger maize and soya protein fortified with Grain Smart, which means the right energy to think and do great things.
Oh! Treat your family to the great taste and energy of Golden Morn. Eat off and carry go. Because nothing do you. Golden Morn. Make every day amazing.
This This is to inform the general public that NATCOM Development and Investment Limited, trading as Entel, is the purchaser of the core telecommunications assets of the defunct Nitel and Mtel. It has been brought to our notice that some individuals and criminally minded persons have been posing as our staff and authorized persons and are using these criminal tactics to vandalize and steal our telecommunications cables, equipment, and other expensive properties from our offices. Kindly be informed that we have not authorized anyone whatsoever to remove, decommission, transport, or dispose of any of our telecommunications cables, equipment, or other properties thereof. Hence, whosoever is apprehended for vandalism or theft shall be prosecuted with the full wrath of the law. And notify us directly through these numbers: 0804 444 0777 or 0804 444 1891. Thank you. Announcer, Management, NATCOM Development and Investment Limited.
A fully furnished, nice and comfortable hostel accommodation in University of Ibadan, or a place for seminars and executive trainings at the same venue? You do not have to worry. Adebayo Akonde Hall suits your lodging needs and provides you a home away from home. Adebayo Akonde Hall is a 4-star hostel built in a serene environment with constant supply of electricity. It has fully furnished rooms that gives you great comfort at an affordable price. Adebayo Akonde Hall is located at Ajibode Extension, University of Ibadan. To make reservations, visit www.adebayohall.com or call the numbers 0805-699-8718, 0805-699-8719, 0805-699-8720. Adebayo Akonde Hall. Built for comfort. Built for you.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
They shot at her. They shot at her friend. She was kidnapped. It happened in Lanlate. She is a farmer. He was a farmer. On their way from the farm, tragedy struck. Who will wipe Modukwe's tears? Who will wipe Modukwe's tears?
I mean, I was always at the middle, two in the front, two at the back, and they never let down their guard. So, I mean, they had two guns, one at the front, one at the back. So I knew that if I made a run for it, it would be easy for them to just shoot me. So that was when I just left it and just...
So when they collected the money, at what point did they release you?
Yeah, you got a call that the money has been... that you should bring me. So we started trekking. I didn't even know that it was such a long distance from where he was also. So I guess they were just trying to be careful, you know, in case there was a police on it. So it was a long distance from where they collected the money, because it took me around 15 minutes to get to where my dad was. So he walked me down. And so they told him to put on his headlight. So when we got to a point where I could see it, he asked me to go on.
So while you were walking, did you feel they were still trailing you?
Yes, because at the time, the one that was with me, I was asking him, are they going to hurt my dad? I hope they're not going to hurt my dad.
You were speaking Yoruba to him?
Yes. And he was like, I think that was the one that was, I think, a little bit sane among them. And he was like, no. We are not God. We also know that there is God. We can't just be killing like that, you know. He was one that wasn't talking all through, you know. I didn't even see his face at all. He was always at the back. And he was like, no, don't worry. We're not going to kill you. We're not going to kill you too. You know, reassuring me, we're not going to kill you. Don't worry, you're going to get back to your family today. I know. But when we got to the other three, on the way, I saw that some of them were sitting down somewhere. I guess they were counting the money. I saw them sitting down, I know. So one of them, he joined them, and another one was one that now took me to go and meet my dad. So because he was carrying a gun, so I was like, why didn't they ask the one that was carrying a gun to be the one to lead me? So I was really conscious. So when he said I should go ahead, a lot of times I would still look at the bag that I hope he has not changed his mind, because they already collected the money. So I was really scared. I hope they have not changed their mind. I hope it's not that they asked me to go and then I hear something at the back and they shot and all. So I ran. I made a run for it. When immediately I saw his car, it was like running to freedom, you know.
So did you hug your dad? Did you run into the car?
I was like, Daddy, I'm seeing you again.
Oh.
I'm seeing you again. You know, that was the thing that I was saying. When I even got home, saw my siblings, my sister, I was like, I see everybody again. I'm alive. I didn't die. I made it. I saw everyone again.
At this time, did you know your fiancé was dead?
No. I was actually praying all through the night that I would say that he will not die. I was praying. So I was asking my dad, even when I was making the call for the ransom, I was always asking, but they gave me any answer.
Did you discuss
your
fiancé with the kidnappers?
Yes, I did. Especially with the one that I said was a little bit sane. I was asking him that did you see where he was shot? Did you see where the gun hit him? Does he have a chance? You know, I knew it was at the head, you know, at the back. But I was hoping probably, I don't know, I was just hoping for a miracle. That I was asking, do you think he's going to make it? And he said, yeah, that he saw, you know, he looked back and he saw that people were already helping him. You know, they were already taking him to the hospital, so that he was going to make it. You know, that kind of gave me a kind of false hope, a hope that he will be okay. In fact, when I was coming, I asked them to give me a SIM, because I was thinking he won't have to be going through the stress of having to retrieve his line and all that.
Did they give you the SIM?
Yeah, they gave me. They gave me the SIM, you know, I guess to make sure that they wouldn't be able to be tracked, you know. So I collected his SIM and went. So I didn't know. I asked my dad when we got into the car, and he said, "Oh, he's in the hospital. That he's not speaking yet. He's still not talking." I said, "No problem." So when I got home, everybody was happy to see me. That was around 11:30 p.m. You know, everybody was happy to see me. You know, they were crying and all that. So I asked about him again. She said it was okay. But then I felt, who is with him in the hospital? Everybody is here. So we're staying with him in the hospital. Is the parents around? They said, no, the parents are not around. So who is with him in the hospital? They said he's fine. He's still not talking. So but I saw that even though they were happy, they were still, they were not as happy as, or they were not expressing that joy as much as they could. So that was when I took my sister. I went inside, to freshen up. I called my sister. I knew my sister. So I pressed her, to get her to talk. She couldn't say it. She just burst out crying. So that was when I knew that.
He was dead.
He was dead.
He has been buried, right?
Yeah.
Sad.
Sad because I think the most painful part is that he had dreams.
His dreams are gone.
He saw agriculture. He embraced it.
He was a farmer.
He wasn't until a few months ago.
You got him interested in farming?
And he embraced it. If someone who grew up in Lagos and he didn't mind living in the bush.
He wanted to produce food for us.
It was painful.
Yeah, sorry.
The dreams, the aspiration, the plans.
We're going to get married.
Yeah, December. In fact, on the Saturday, we were supposed to go to his parents' place. That's the most painful part, really.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Professor Afiz Ayinde Oladosun, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you for having me. Morning, listener.
Professor Oladosun is the Dean of the Faculty of Art, University of Ibadan. He is of the Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies of the same university. You listen to the story of that young farmer, a young graduate who farms in Lanlate. At weekend, she comes to town to see her family. She attracted her boyfriend to farming. While they were coming to Ibadan from their farm in Lanlate, they encountered kidnappers. The young man was killed and she was kidnapped. What is going on, Professor Oladosun?
Well, first of all, I would say that the story is heart-wrenching. It's sad. I was at the verge of shedding tears listening to her. And I guess the same thing will go for everybody who has not lost his humanity. You first of all need to lose your humanity in order for you to perpetrate such atrocities. If you are still sane in an insane world, then you have one or two options. Either to seek exit from that particular space, or you take on that attitude of I don't care anymore. Like a scholar says, we are living in a jungle now. In a jungle, one principle operates. It's either you eat or you are eaten. We wouldn't find ourselves in this state of anomie. Why not for the fact that we have been, do I say unfortunate, to have, elected or appointed or selected or find ourselves under certain suzerainties and sovereignties who do not have the capacity, who do not have the intellectual onion, who appear disconnected from our reality. The story of this lady is common in Nigeria today. There was one of us, a lawyer, who was kidnapped. The same similar circumstance. He was on his way to Ekiti. In a nutshell, I would say that how we got here is a function of where we were before. We haven't found ourselves, we haven't discovered our nation, we have discovered essentially what kind of leadership we should have. Our society has lost its essence.
We will find that society. Yeah. Honorable Kazim Adedeji, good to have you on State Affairs.
This is my pleasure, Edmund.
Kazim Adedeji is a former member of the House of Representatives, a former commissioner of investment in Oyo State. Are you watching the polity? Are you listening to the stories? Did you hear Modupe Oyetosho there?
Well, let me say that, I want to subscribe to what my professor just said, that the story, to say the least, is heart-wrenching, it is tragic, and it's most disturbing. Like the young lady said, we've all seen how dreams were killed. It's not just about Modupe and her fiancé. It is a general phenomenon in the country today. People are not safe. You have to seek how to sustain yourself in a society that cannot provide for you. And in the process, you are even running a greater risk. When you live in the capital of poverty of the world and you are trying to run away from that poverty and see what happens.
This is a young lady that farms more than 100 hectares of land in Lanlate. A young lady.
And that makes it even more sad. And what one can deduce from the whole scenario is that, it underscores the failure, either the failure or the deficiency of our current security architecture.
Hearing of the meeting of the carts, restless the rats, surveying the holes, then a hot chase, and the mouse ran into the house. How this plays out can be explained in the story of a hunter exploring the wild in search of the biggest animal on earth. His people wait with bated breath for the celebration of the defeat of the forest. After a sudden heavy rain, the hunter emerges in the kingdom with a beautiful maiden. If I asked Tunde Odulade to cast this imagery in batik art, I will look forward to the interpretation of reality he will render. Don't ask me how. Ask Tunde Odulade. It's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much, Edmund. You know, I think really hefty, you know, and still looking lion being tied to a very tidy tree. When there are bigger trees around, then the next stage of that piece, that is the part 2 of that piece, was where the lion was saying, uprooted the tree and started chasing after the people that have tied him down. That's like when you give power onto the hand of people who do not have the intellectual, the nerves, you know, the right frame of mind to lead. It's like leaving your life on the hand of this hungry-looking lion.
At Festac 77,
yes, sir,
where you were mainly discovered,
yes,
it was a cultural festival.
Yes, it was.
Of art.
Yes.
To celebrate Africa.
Yes, sir.
Was this the Africa you saw in 1977?
Definitely different. When we were at the Festac town in Lagos, folks from all over the world were there with us. From America, from Europe, from every part of the world. And everyone was happy. In fact, most of them did not want to leave. Some of them stayed. Eddie Grant, you know, the musician, that's part of what...
Hello,
Africa. That was part of what gave him an inroad into Nigeria. And he stayed here, recorded some albums, was living fine in Lagos. It would take a genius out of anyone now to convince people in that class to want to come to Nigeria to stay. Because of the insecurity architecture in Nigeria, who wants to come and stay?
What are artists like you doing? Is there any way you can tell the story of Mudupe using your batik art?
Oh, definitely. And I'm currently working on that. And what I'm currently working on is seeing youths in disarray, seeing youths in the mood of, you know, scratching to do something, but the environmental, you know, sanitation or the peaceful environment is not there for them to be able to thrive.
Now, Prof, I am talking to an artist.
Yeah.
I'm also talking to a professor. What are researches ongoing to tackle the problem of the Nigerian state? We have complained about leadership over time, but can't we take leadership with knowledge?
It's like asking whether we want a situation where the philosopher will become the king. In order for the philosopher to become the king, then something must give way. One of those things that we need to give way is the preparation, the preparedness of existing kings to yield space to philosophers. As at now, the kings in the palaces that we have in our world today, in Nigeria today, yes, they are not willing to yield space to philosophers. And the reason they are not willing is because they do not value philosophy. They do not understand what philosophy can contribute to societal development.
But is it not a failure of philosophy not to have uprooted them by now?
Philosophy is like you say, the failure of the knife to create a change. The knife is an instrument, it's a tool. It needs an intervention of a third party.
Yes, to be used.
Yes.
Yes.
But oftentimes, when the knife is in the hands of the wrong person,
oh my Lord,
then it's like given opportunity to the ignoramus to be in control of the world.
Yes.
Then what you expect, what you would find, what you would see is a complete state of anomie.
Yes.
That's what we're having now. The scholars. So I was at interview, another station a couple of days ago. My interviewer asked me, "Why? What is it that you are doing? Why don't you are the elite? Why don't you take control of the nation?" I said, "We are doing the little we can." You got little is not okay anymore. It's not okay. It's not okay anymore. I agree with you, but given the circumstance, the academia, the universities, the higher institutions, the polytechnics, the colleges of education, they are also suffering the same kind of situation we are talking in the larger society. Lack of funding with which research can be because of our colleagues who have ventured into politics. They have ended up becoming part of the problem.
We have a politician here.
Maybe
we'll
assist us with that.
How do you consume them when they come?
Well, everything borders on the kind of leadership structure that we have. And I will say, and I've always said, that the political systems that we have in Nigeria are not really political parties in the real sense of the word. Because political parties are supposed to, to aggregate, the ideology that binds, members together.
It's supposed to be an intellectual house.
Yes.
And you don't see that in political parties anymore.
But, actually, let me say.
You see, we will come back. Let's go for this commercial break. I'm discussing with Honorable Kazima Didiji, a former member of the House of Representatives. He's a legal practitioner. Tunde Odulade is here, Africa's celebrated artist. And I also have the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, University of Ibadan. I'm talking about Professor Afiz Oladosun. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
State Affairs.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo.
Splash FM 105.5.
Quick, charge at 240.
Hot news, cool vibes, sports, and more on the Integrity Station.
Hey there world, it's Susan and Ria with BBC Minute.
TikTok, the top global trend.
Before you grab your phone and check, don't worry, the app isn't down.
The reason it's trending is that Donald Trump has said he could sign an executive order and ban TikTok in the US.
Yeah, it's after security officials there said they're worried the Chinese-owned app might be sharing the personal data of American users with Beijing.
So how have people reacted? Well, many saying,
bring back Vine.
Remember, the app that allowed users to share 6-second videos? Vine's also trending.
So is James Harden. Fans are raving about his performance that saw him score 49 points for the Houston Rockets versus the Dallas Mavericks.
And the story we love to end, it's about a fox who owns a pretty impressive shoe collection.
What?
Yep, he's been busy collecting them from gardens in a German suburb.
Wow, residents had been baffled wondering why a thief would steal their smelly footwear.
The mystery was solved when a man spotted the fox trotting around with a pair of flip-flops in his mouth.
Hilarious. 0829G.
BBC Minute.
Quick, charge at 240.
Hot news, cool vibes, sports, and more on the Integrity Station. Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash 105.5 FM, your Integrity Station.
In the global village of conflicting ideologies and complexities, understanding systems and schemes through awareness and social reconstruction becomes expedient.
They never told you how you offended them?
I'm not on trial, so I can't go before
Join the radio man, Edmund Obilo, on State Affairs for local and international politics, security, extensive economic analysis, interviews, and world power play.
Nigerians must choose the path they want to follow. Follow the same looters and sponsors of violence who control the political structures or encourage the formation of a new leadership team.
Be a global citizen and join the radio revolution on State Affairs. State Affairs with Edmund Obilo. Radio just got deeper.
It's not a problem at all. The shooting that has happened this afternoon is between the Nigerian military, maybe, and our police.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Honorable Kazima Dideji, gunshots in Borno, governor being attacked. But before we look at that, you were trying to break it down before we went on that break.
Yes, I was trying to say that, political parties have a lot to do in producing the right leadership. But unfortunately, what we have in Nigeria today is that our political parties are not really political parties in the real sense of the word. They are mere political platform to gain power. And that's most unfortunate. So if we really want real democracy in Nigeria, there is the need for us to deconstruct, the current political party structure. Political parties in Nigeria today are not founded on any known ideology. Even if those ideologies appear on paper, you find out that, the practitioners are doing something entirely different.
Are you describing a madhouse?
If you call it that, you might not be far from the truth. And, see what is happening in Edo State now. The man on the other side, at the last election, is now the bride. Today, there is a reversal of roles. And you begin to ask yourself, what has changed in the last 4 years, between the two candidates. So what I'm trying to say is that we really have to go back to, true party democracy. What we used to have in the 1970s, in the Second Republic, we were in secondary school there, and I'm sure, Mr. Odolade, would know much about it. Political parties were so beautiful, and many of us became attracted to politics because of the personnel, that were involved in politics. I will tell you one thing, something now. During the Second Republic, Prof can bear me witness, and Mr. Odolade, the governor of Oyo State then, Chief Bolagi, whenever he wants to make a speech, you will never find anybody on the road. It was like, you want to watch a soap opera, because everybody will want to listen to what the governor had to say. It was, there was so much connection between the leadership and the people, unlike what we have now.
Are you saying as we grow older, we become more chaotic?
I won't say yes to that right away. But if I may pick from what he just mentioned, this is where creativity comes into play. You see, for you to have to be a good leader, some element of creativity has to be in you. Professor Niyo Shinare says that we have not developed because we've always had leaders who lack imagination. You know, this very Chibolage that he just mentioned, I had the opportunity of, moving very close to him. In fact, when he turned 70, I did an exhibition of his life, from day one till when he was 70, showing photographs, using all kinds of paraphernalia to expose the beautiful life that this man has been living. Chibolage was a writer. That's some creativity. Bill Clinton is a saxophonist, and you know what he did with America when he was in office. So creativity matters a lot in anything that is you are doing, and that's some of what we are not teaching in schools. When I was in primary school, we were doing what we call handwork, and in fact, I was a handwork officer. So I'm not surprised that I later become an artist.
Creativity engages the mind.
Engages the mind.
It brings the best out of the mind.
It brings the best out of you. Wherever it is you are, if you are a creative person, you can survive there.
Can you have a creative gun shooter like the sounds we heard there?
It's because there's no creativity in them. That's why they could resort to nothing but gun. They would have used that gun to do something different.
What that sound? What message did the sound send? The gunshot.
It sounds tragic, moments of our life. There's a piece of work that I like to talk about that I also did, and this piece on the left side, it has a shows Eastern education. Then in the middle, sandwiched in the middle, is Africa philosophy. We communicate by using symbols like Ghana, GMA, it means accept God. So different symbols in different Africas have been transported to the world and have become things that the world treasure. Like the cloth I'm wearing was made in India, but the actual design came from Mali. This is mud cloth. Came from Mali. So what I'm saying in essence is this piece that you see on the side, Christianity and Islam and African philosophy sandwiched in between, and then which only communicates, wisdom, knowledge, teaching the world the way to live. But we ourselves, that we have all this philosophy, we don't know how to live that world. Isn't that a shame?
Professor Ladosu,
yeah.
The gunshot. Just imagine you were the governor in that chaos.
And it's good that happened not to be the governor. Because if the governor were to be the governor, that was a metaphor. Those gunshots were sending messages to him, and by extension to the president of Nigeria, that you are no more under the control. You are no more in control of the nation. For so long a time, we know that this place had been in a state of menace. We needed an ace, and we thought that we had found the ace.
In Buhari?
Well, you could say that. In Buhari at the center, in the various state government houses, we thought we had the right people in place. But just as Mr. Odnade has mentioned now, it appears as if each time they enter the government houses,
something just
something snaps in these people's.
Then perhaps it's not them. It's something. Perhaps it's not them. There is something. Let's find out something.
Maybe.
Okay. You remember our brother? What's our brother's name? Who worked with Jonathan?
Ruben
Abati. He mentioned something to that.
He talks about spirits.
Exactly.
Did you see spirits at the National Assembly? Adedeji?
Yeah, there's no spirit anywhere. It's just about attitude. And it's about weak institutions that we have in Nigeria.
I agree.
So there's the need for us to really strengthen our institutions.
Who are the we?
Who is strengthening the institution? Because if you are the National Assembly, my brother,
yes,
the National Assembly is that arm of governance that's meant to ensure that institutions are strengthened. But unfortunately, it's like asking the thief to be the investigator in a crime that he has committed.
I like to take a tour from where you just. In 2009, I had the opportunity of visiting the National Assembly. The chairman of the Youth and Sports at the time invited me. And then when I was to speak, my first statement was, I want everybody in this room who is above 35 to stand up and tender unreserved apology to the youths, because we are the one who have confused them to where they are today. Then second of all, I said, wait a minute, the kind of government we are practicing in this country is damn too expensive. It's like we have a Beetle that we're running like a Cadillac. Well, how does that work?
Let's listen to a general. In times of crisis, you will want to gain inspiration from a general.
Yes.
In this case, General Tukur Buratai, the Chief of Army Staff. Let's listen to him.
For a long time, we're essentially supporting the Nigerian police, and we will do it to ensure that our country is safe. As to whether the banditry, terrorism, and so on will end, I think it all depends. If Nigerians want it to end today, I assure you it will end today. If everybody joins hands, because these bandits are not outside Nigeria, they are not from foreign land. These terrorists, 99% of them are all Nigerians. These kidnappers, I would even say 100% of them are Nigerians. So it's not just the military tax and the security agencies tax to end the insecurity in this country. Do that. And some of the insecurities are as old as humanity, as old as history itself.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Professor Lados, does it sound tired?
Maybe he wanted a situation where the president will ease him out of office. Because once the hunter or the shopkeeper or the house owner is saying that this house is open to annexation, whoever is ready to come and take over, the door is opened. That means you should be removed from the house first. But unfortunately, that's not what we're having now. Unfortunately, the commander-in-chief appears unwilling, appears, I don't want to say incapable. We are in a very dire situation presently.
Honorable Adedeji, Buratai, how did he sound there?
Well, he's only showing, the quality of people that are controlling our security apparatus. For me, the statement he made is enough for the president to ask him to resign, because he appears to have resigned to fate. If somebody that is asked to guard a house is now calling on the occupant that, except, you defend yourself, there's nothing I can do. It shows lack of faith even in what he's doing. And I think the best thing for the president and the commander-in-chief to have done is to have asked him to resign.
Mr. Abdulade, were you inspired by that speech?
To me, it was like throwing into the towel. And when the boxer throws in the towel, what does that mean? It means I'm done. That's what that sounded to me. from listening to him, I've heard this statement before, and I'm like, wait a minute, is he really, really ready to continue with this job? The answer is no, as far as I could hear.
Let's listen to Governor Zulum confronting the commander in Baga.
It's not a problem at all. The shooting that has happened this afternoon is between the Nigerian military, maybe, and our police.
No. We did the clearance, me and the sector commander. No. We saw where they were, and we no Boko Haram inside Baga town.
We remain grateful to all.
But you know,
commitment is not there.
There's no Boko Haram inside the town.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, look at what he said. The governor says, as far as I'm concerned, what happened in Baga is a complete sabotage by the military. There is no Boko Haram in Baga. Zulum concludes. He calls it sabotage. He goes on to say, I wonder, we have over 1,181 soldiers in Baga, 72 officers, 107 soldiers, 400 soldiers in My 4, and 1,900 soldiers in Mongno. I see no reason why only 5 Boko Haram terrorists stopped them from occupying Baga town. Professor Ladosun.
President Muhammad Buhari should answer this question.
Are we taking this issue seriously the way it should be taken?
Not at all. Not at all. And one may be tempted to say that I think this fight against Boko Haram has become a sort of business.
It's coming closer.
Yeah.
It is coming closer. The north is being engulfed.
Yes,
it's unfortunate.
Let's look at what's going on in Kaduna at the moment.
Yes. My take of that statement from Governor Zulum is that Yoruba says that is when you have a thorn in your feet or so in your body, and then they try to help you pull out the thorn, and that means they're about to pull it out. When it gets to the point when governor of a state can confront, the military, the security apparatus there to say that they lack doing their job, it means it's beginning to happen when everybody will understand clearly what is happening. That's, to me, what I think that is.
And, if I may say that, in 1980 or 81,
yes,
similar thing happened to Rimi in Kano.
Abubakar Rimi.
During the Maitasini.
Yes.
And it was after the governor was attacked that they really stepped up action and eliminated, But I hope that will repeat itself in the northeast.
I think we should cash it on that.
Who is a we?
All of us.
Unfortunately, the ordinary Hausa man or Fulani man in Maiduguri today,
yes,
is pauperized, is dehumanized,
yes,
is oppressed. He can't sleep.
So he doesn't have the muzzle.
He doesn't. His voice has been muted. AKA Ojebo did the other day. Muted voices. We have muted voices in Maiduguri all over. These people can't talk. They are in a state of delirium. They can't eat. They can't sleep. It is this. That's why we're talking about. We are problematizing leadership. Once we have failed leadership, the system fails. The system crumbles,
collapses.
And that's why I said we have a CNC. The CNC has the overall authority. I can't. That's why I said it's very sad.
It appears we are not paying enough attention to the CNC. If there is so much chaos in the state,
it's unfortunate.
It stops on his table.
It stops on his table.
Of course,
it's unfortunate. It's
all right. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash 105.5 FM, your integrity station.
Sometimes there are truths you know, but you cannot talk about. There are many conversations young people are having in hushed tones and cannot bring to the public. Well, someday you must face the reality of the situation and speak out. We present Loud Whispers. Loud Whispers. A radio drama that takes you on a journey of reality as we explore social issues, reproductive health, and right matters that are often discussed in whispers. Experience 15 minutes of intrigues, humor, and suspense-filled radio drama for 18 weeks.
Join us every Tuesday on Splash 105.5 FM from 8:45 p.m. to 9 p.m. from June 2020.
Loud Whispers is proudly brought to you by One Life Initiative with support from Amplified Change.
Babe, Grain Smart. Is it a flavor?
No, it's a special mix of vitamins and iron in Golden Morn.
But I thought Golden Morn was made from maize and soya.
Yes, Niger maize and soya protein fortified with Grain Smart, which means the right energy to think and do great things.
Oh! Treat your family to the great taste and energy of Golden Morn. Eat up and carry go, because nothing do you. Golden Morn, make every day amazing.
Olúwa fọpẹ́ sí àmì ọlọ́run ṣe bí ọba. Òwúrọ̀ àkọ́tún ètò ní ìkànnì Splash FM 105.5 ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Monday sí ọjọ́ Sunday láàrin aago 5:30 ìdájí sí 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. pẹ̀lú wòlíì ọlọ́run alààyè Apostle SMO Mustapha JP bàbá ṣe bí ọba. Òwúrọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ọlọ́run wípé gbogbo ẹni tó bá wá mi ní kùtùkùtù wọ́n rí mi àǹfààní ní ìfún ọ láti ní ìbápàdé ọlọ́run nínú ayé bàbá ṣe bí ọba ní ìkànnì Splash FM 105.5 lójoojúmọ́ láti ọjọ́ Monday sí Sunday láago 5:30 ìdájí sí 6 fún wọn náà láti jẹ aládùn ọlọ́run nípasẹ̀ ìránṣẹ́. Ìwọ náà máa darapọ̀ lójoojúmọ́ láago 5:30 ìdájí 5:30 a.m. sí 6 ọgbọ̀n ìṣẹ́jú iṣẹ́ agbára látẹ́gùn pẹ̀lú ọlọ́run nínú ayé bàbá ṣe bí ọba. Apostle SMO Mustapha ìjọ Seed of Christ Golden Church International ló ṣe onígbọ̀wọ́ ẹ̀. Ìrì òwúrọ̀ lójoojúmọ́ ní ìkànnì ìrírí iṣẹ́ agbára tó ṣàrà ọ̀tọ̀ nígbà bẹ́ẹ̀.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Told you about Willow. I don't know Willow from Adam. I knew him when I became a governor. He told me he's a heart specialist. That he can do heart operation with this. I said, why don't you come and do it in Anambra State? He told me there's no hospital where he can do it. I said, you know what you're going to do? Give me the cost of all the equipments you need to do it. And I went to a mission hospital. By the time we calculated, everything came to almost $1 billion. I wrote the check and gave the mission. I said, listen, set it up. He's there, he's working. They haven't operated on me, but they're saving other people's lives. Where will I use that money? Where will I take that money to come and buy a house in Atlanta? Do I live in Atlanta? No. If I come to Atlanta, I pay for a hotel and go. This hotel room cannot cost more than $200 a night. I won't even pay if it's more, because I only want to sleep. Now people call me and pay for $2,000 to sleep. If anybody takes $2,000 from me, I will be awake, thinking they're stealing my money. Why will I sleep? It's only to sleep. But people come here. If see a man who has, I can understand Ben Bruce who has had money all the while. He can tell me the type of hotel he's sleeping. It doesn't matter to me the name of the hotel. All you want is to sleep. You're not going to buy the hotel. You're not the owner of the hotel. So don't tell me you're staying in a ward of Australia. You're staying in this. A hotel is a hotel. You only want to sleep and wake up in the morning. And people do it with other people's money, not with their own money. You cannot. And that is the waste you see in our place. Nigerians people are using government money to travel first class. Who said if you stay on the other side of the plane, you won't get there? I've been flying all over the world. I don't need to. If I go to the airport, they upgrade me. Good luck. If they don't, you say where you, because you're using public money. Today, our people charter plane to Abuja. Do you know to charter plane from Enugu, for example, to Abuja is $15,000. It costs you 20,000 in a piece. Same flight, 20,000 naira, and people will spend 6 million naira for it. And these are people who don't used to enter plane before we voted them in.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
The obvious. The political class is the current political class is too extravagant. The way they spend public with the likes of Chief Akitola, SAN, Dr. Akioningwide, Pastor Femi Emmanuel. And then, even for the almost 2 years that we spent in the house, I could not afford a car. So I used to board public transport every day, to and fro.
You don't mean it?
I tell you, and these are things you can confirm.
Wow.
People, from Secretariat, I used to live at Ojaba then. The only thing is that you meet people in the public transport, they say, Honorable, good afternoon. They only have to pay for their transport if somebody happens to know you. So nobody felt, anything unusual in that. Only a few people I can count on the finger, at my fingertips, those honorable members that could afford cars.
How did we become this wasteful as a people?
Because we thought we wanted to copy United States of America. We wanted to copy United Kingdom. We wanted to adopt a democratic system that's completely, in a way, unsuitable to our own environment here. Or we have failed to properly do the adaptation. The embarkment, we have failed the process of adopting a system and making it suitable to our own setting here. Honorable has just mentioned what used to happen years ago. While he was talking, the question that agitated my mind was, then what changed? What led to that change? Why is it that today a member of House of Assembly or a member of House of Representatives in Abuja must earn millions of naira, 15 million naira per month, 30 million naira per month? Why are we now know they are also contractors? We now know they are also contractors. They are sellers, they are traders. They are not only contractors, they are traders, they are sellers. Not only that, they are also gatekeepers. Gatekeepers in the sense that my vice chancellor, for example, the little budget, I mentioned little the other time, you wanted to take me up. We can't do the best in the absence of the best. You can't give what you don't have. When you expect it, output depends on input. The input into the education system is so low. Nigeria is the only country in West Africa whose budget to education is down there, lower than that of Ghana, lower than that of Gambia. You don't have to mention South Africa. So you can't expect the much from those who are given the little. They do every year is to have an idea. They just allocate certain amount of money to the education sector, not a function of a research into what would take to produce a graduate. They don't do that. So you don't expect magic from the education system. You can't expect magic from the education system.
Peter Obida.
Yes, I thought that was just stunning. I studied wine a little bit. And what I found out about wine is made out of grape. Mm-hmm. And then there's that saying that you can never make a good wine out of bad grape. Mm-hmm. But you can make the best of the best wine from good grape. And I think that's applicable to the situation here. Mm-hmm. Talking about, trying to do things the way they do it in America. I live technically in America, so I understand a little bit of the politics in there. If it is that we are trying to copy the way America does it, then we shouldn't be doing it this way. Most of the senators you find in America, they have other jobs they are doing. You know, their life is not solely dependent. The reason of going into office into the senatorial or whatever position they seek is to serve the people. But here, just like you said, they are mere traders. And it will be okay if they are just traders of honest, extraction.
Anyway, is life not a marketplace? Is it wrong to trade?
Yeah, somehow, but there should be code of conduct.
Yes, exactly.
Even among businessmen. Otherwise, the whole place will become chaotic.
Aristotle said that you even among armed robbers, they need justice.
Yes.
Because in the absence of justice, in absence of equity, there won't be armed robbery. You need to see leadership. Okay.
In natural fact, there should be honor, even among thieves.
This is lacking in
so there's no honor now.
Even among the thieves.
Let me tell you this. This set of thieves, they were about starting their operation on the express. And they realized that they didn't have fuel in their car. And so the Oga there said, who among you have money here? And then one said, oh, I only have 1 naira. This one said, I only have 2 naira. Then the Oga felt like 1 naira, 2 naira. Then he went ahead and searched their pockets.
And found that
they have more, they have 20, 30 naira. He said, you are thieves.
All right, let's open the lines. Join the conversation. Remember, I hit the nail on the head. 080915 51055, 080-569-98678, and 070-694-93000. And let me remind you, J.F. Kennedy says a child miseducated is a child lost. So I recommend this book to you. Memorable quotes compiled by A.B. Akonde. God is good, God is merciful, he says on the front page. The title is Memorable Quotes, compiled by A.B. Akonde. In the book, you will find this interesting quote that reads, "The point of teaching is to control your mind. Restrain your mind from greed, and you will keep your body right. Your mind pure and your words faithful. Always thinking of the transiency of your life, you will be able to desist from greed and anger and will be able to avoid all evils." This is coming from Gautama Buddha, and it's a powerful philosophical quote. I also want you to read a book about Africa. You need to read this book. You need to know where Africa is coming from, including Nigeria. You know, the history of African countries are similar in terms of their colonial origin. That is why you see the poverty. If you go to Kenya, if I blindfold you and throw you into a plane and land you somewhere in Nairobi and open your eyes, you will think you are in Nigeria. It's the same chaos, the same poverty. You know, so read this book, The State of Africa, A History of the Continent Since Independence, written by Martin Meredith. The State of Africa, A History of the Continent Since Independence. The lines are open. Hello, Bosun is here to pick your line. Good morning. Hello.
Morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, this is Femi speaking from Ulumi.
Go ahead, Femi.
Yes, looking at everything that has been said, seriously, I want to conclude that the situation of things in Nigeria is only God that can really help us. I remember what we had the professor that we had in Sikuru there, and he was talking about the philosophers coming into it to take the affairs of the politics in Nigeria. I think the only problem we have is that, despite the fact that different propositions have been put forward by many philosophers to elaborate the problem, the political problem, economy we have in Nigeria,
The nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head.
Yes, sir. So what I'm trying to say is that the system itself is corrupt, and the philosophers cannot actually be given the opportunity even to actually take the aims of their affairs. It's only God that can.
All right, you have made your point. Thank you. You know, when they give opportunity, what are you waiting for to give you the opportunity? It seems everybody's waiting to be given opportunity.
Seize it.
You know, why not seize it?
Yes.
You know, I don't stop talking about waiting for opportunity. Who will give you? You think your oppressor will give you opportunity?
No way.
To come and take over his position.
No.
Stop waiting for that opportunity. Alele Sunday Anthony is on Edmund Obilo's page on Facebook. He says, I'm afraid to visit Itabo at Lanlate, where I enjoy to visit because of this incident. No security for ordinary citizens again. One of Vogman says, Mr. Edmund, I can't blame our leaders. Rather, I blame the citizens that vote them in. Are they really voted in?
No.
And if they are, what are the processes that throw them up? John Paul Azuka says, good morning, the radio man. This is fire on the mountain. Bandits have submerged our land, killing in Lanlate, killing in Bonu, killing in Kaduna, and our president said boldly he has done his best in terms of security. Who is here again? Ayotunde Fadam says, this statement got me, and it's fact. Nigeria's debt burden rises as poverty grows. Now let's go to the National Assembly. Let's listen to Honorable Nicholas Osai.
Documents we have gone through, there are variations on rate and interest rates. Those variations will ask Ministry of Finance how manage. Those are the things we look out for yet. We're not saying that somebody is corrupt. Why do you sign these documents different from this interest rate? And you sign it at the same time. Those are issues that comes up on communications, Ministry of the ministries. Then we're going to ask us and interrogate. We're not saying because money is not paid directly to people in this country. It's paid to the district. We have seen the agreement here. We have also seen clause where sovereignty is waived if we default. I've seen it in a document. Yeah, I've seen it in a document. It's in a document. The sovereignty of our country is waived. And I believe that that particular clause is not part of the thing they brought to the National Assembly to approve. Because no National Assembly members will look at that clause and approve such. So you in your own way, you might be right in what you are doing to defend this country when signing, when reaching a disagreement. Others might not be so. So we must take a critical look at them one by one. This committee has not been functioning in the National Assembly before, but now the committee has started functioning.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
That's the Chairman, House of Representative Committee on Treaties, Protocol and Agreement, Honorable Nicholas Osai. There, he faltered the non-involvement of the National Assembly in loan negotiations. He frowns at the clause in the agreement that insists that the borrower waives its sovereignty in the event of its failure to repay the loans. If you were still a member of the House of Representatives, what would you be doing now, Honorable Kazim Adedeji?
It's unfortunate that, it's unfortunate when you hear things like this. And, it shows the failure of governance generally. Because assuming, the National Assembly has nothing to do with treaties, let's assume that it's purely an executive. But we have the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who is expected to vet all agreements and treaties, that the country is to enter into. So it means, they are not doing what they are supposed to do. How can you trade off your sovereignty for loans?
Let's listen to what Amechi has to say. Amechi is the Minister of Transport.
I've told the House of Reps, I told them two things. First is, I just got to know that there's a clause in the agreement. It's simple. China will give you, like, the loan to construct the rail from Ibadan to Kano is $5.3 billion. The reason why you're ceding your sovereignty, not that you're ceding your sovereignty, you can't take away the sovereignty of Nigeria. The implication is that if at the end of the day you don't pay us back our money, whatever we need to take from you, we will take without you telling me about sovereignty. But most times what the Chinese do is that they go after the same asset that they have constructed to get back this asset. You say, no, I'm a government in Nigeria, you can't take it. So how do I recover my money? Now, for me, the National Assembly, in their wisdom, don't forget they're wise men, going by the Constitution, in their wisdom, if they think that is wrong, then they should tell us how to get the money to be able to build this infrastructure. But if this infrastructure has been built before we came, we're not mad men, we won't build them again, we'll go to something else. If you ask me what infrastructure you want to build, schools, because I want to have an educated class. But unfortunately, you can't also do that without growing the economy. And one of the infrastructure that grew and propel an economy in a country is transportation. That's one. Two, I have told the National Assembly, nothing wrong with investigation. It's part of their responsibilities. It's an oversight function. But for now, you jeopardize the ability of government to raise money if you continue to ask those questions that we think that will make China say, what's going on here? That's the point I'm making. So you will lose the loan you're asking for Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. So Port Harcourt Maiduguri is Port Harcourt, Aba, Umuahia, Enugu, Makurdi, Lafia, Jos, Bauchi, Gombe, Damaturu, then Maiduguri. You will lose the money you're asking for Ibadan to Kano, which is Ibadan, the Loren, Mina. Leave Kaduna, Abuja, that's been done. So you Kano. Right? Now you don't know how the Russians will react, because the Russians were negotiating with Russians on the loan from Lagos to Calabar. So you will lose the money for Lagos, all that area of Ore to Benin to, including Akure.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Professor Ladosun, you heard Amechi there.
And I felt like running away from hearing him, from listening to him. Because you can't reason somebody out of something it was not reasoned into before. You need to be reasoned into something for you to be reasoned out of it. Amechi didn't give opportunity for reasoning. So he wasn't listening to himself. He was saying, it's either you follow China or nothing else. And that he doesn't even know that clause was there before. When the clip was shared on our faculty platform, I shook my head. Because in eastern part of Africa today, Kenya is at the verge of defaulting in paying
the Mombasa port, the biggest port in Kenya.
So, and I wonder whether Amechi is actually following what's happening around the world. So, for me, this speaks to a greater challenge facing us as a nation.
Yeah. They say if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Yeah. And that's what's playing out here. Yeah. And I'm afraid it will not come to a point when the Chinese will come and say, bring all the keys and get out of here.
Will you allow that?
Will I allow that?
Yeah.
If I have a bond with them, then the justice will say, hey, this is what you sign here.
But perhaps Amechi is saying, what's the big deal? We can pay the debt.
How do we... Look, Yorùbá sọ pé ẹni tí ó yáwó tó ṣègbà àti mọ̀ pé kò lówó lọ́wọ́ ni. That is somebody who has taken a loan and is being captured to come and pay for the loan he's doing, giving his labor. It means he didn't have money in the first instance. But in our own case, it isn't that we don't have money. It's just that we are not creative enough.
All right. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Splash FM 105.5.
Iléeṣẹ́ Infinity Estate tún dé pẹ̀lú Iléyá special promo package tí Iléeṣẹ́ Infinity Estate ń ṣe báyìí.
Ó yá ṣàlàyé méje kémi àtàwọn tèmi omi ṣe polytechnically ọjà yìí.
Bàbá gbàjámọ̀
fún
yín àtàwọn tó ń gbọ́ mi Iléeṣẹ́ Infinity Estate ń ṣe Iléyá special promo fún tilẹ̀ wọn tí wọ́n ń tà Infinity Estate phase 2 tó wà ní Killer bus stop ní Yànà Ẹ̀fọ̀n off Ìbàdàn Abẹ́òkúta expressway 97,000 naira ní per plot pẹ̀lú 45,000 naira owó dọ́kúmẹ̀ntì ẹ̀. Iléyá promo ní August 15 ló máa parí. Àwọn àǹfààní pọ̀pọ̀pọ̀ tẹ́ ẹ bá rà lára ilẹ̀ yẹn sanwó kó gbalẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ kan bẹ́ẹ̀ láyé san díẹ̀díẹ̀ wà tẹ́ ẹ bá dàrá éka kan ẹ máa gba plọ́ọ̀tì kan sí lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́.
Ó ní dìlítì bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ṣe méjì ẹ̀ sí.
ọ́fíìsì Infinity Estate wà nílé epo Agape Energy lápáta Ìbàdàn àtúnilẹ̀ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ Ìbàdàn àti lábẹ́kúta tẹlifon 081-222-911-45 lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí 081-222-911-45.
Thank you.
My country people, how na dey? The Ogbonge supermarket Foodco don come again to put smile for your face with festival of savings with plenty market wey no go put hole for your pocket. For every 5,000 market wey you buy, you go get one pack of snacks awoof to chop and clean mouth. If na 10,000 above market you buy, we go sama you a meal voucher free. No be joke o. Amazing discounts dey boku for all una favorite drinks, wine, home appliances and groceries dem. Omeleni dodo Martina Mefa 770 naira. Golden Mon 450 grams 640 naira. Binaton iron losho D1265 5,150 naira. Mambado vegetable oil 900 ml 665 naira. Oti wine Eva grape 980 naira. Honeywell macaroni 500 grams 175 naira. Ìrọ̀rùn yín ló jẹ wá lógún ní Foodco. Ẹ wá rọjà yín lówó tí ò ga jara lọ. Pẹ̀lú Foodco Festival of Savings bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti ọjọ́ 24 oṣù keje ọdún yìí títí di ọjọ́ 8 oṣù kẹjọ ọdún yìí. Offers bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ for grand while stock last. Terms and conditions dey o.
Splash FM 105.5.
Then why are you coming here that you are aware that you were a member of the NDDC and lots of contracts were awarded to you? You said I'm not aware. I'm telling you that. Bring up those names.
May I inform my honorable sister that is why we have to change
Honorable Minister, please. It's okay. That is okay. That is okay.
But let me explain.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Let me explain.
It's okay.
Now.
It's okay.
You must not allow the two children to have the budget every
It's
day.
okay. Off your mic. It's okay.
She
off your mic, Honorable Minister.
You are like me. I was a member like you. I did not know what was going on.
Honorable Minister.
Yes,
it's okay.
Yes, Chairman.
It's okay. You guys sit down. Sit down. It's okay.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, before we off our mics, before we say it's okay with the state affairs of today, everybody's collecting loans. Buhari loan. Even she, Makinde, has gone for loans. 100 million naira bond. When will this billion?
Last option.
All right.
Well, it will end only when we have creative people at the end of affairs who are prepared for the job.
Yeah.
Not those who want the job just to, enhance their CVs.
Yeah.
Yeah, align with those perspectives until we have the correct leadership, until the citizens too are ready to question their leaders. We need to question them. Thank you.
Intense flooding at Unipepe Odife Road. This is a message from Folusho Omolewa. He left this message on my or your app. Have you downloaded the app? Go on Google Play Store or iOS to download the app. Folusho Omolewa leaves a message on the app. He says the regular flooding at Unipepe area of Odife Road is highly distressing. In the process of flooding, many houses are submerged underwater for as long as the flooding lasts. He says the principal causes of this flooding are due to the gradual filling up of the riverbed by dirt and also the lack of adequate space for water to flow under the bridge. He says the bridge is like a small funnel disallowing the water to flow away quickly, causing the river to flood. I hope state authorities are listening. Folusho Omolewa, a citizen of your state, has complained on his app, my or your app. Remember, it's your app. Participating is a way to improve the state. Tunde Odulade, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
You're welcome, my brother.
He's an international artist. I will be uploading an interview I had with him in 2018 for you to know who Tunde Odulade is. Honorable Kazim Adedeji, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
He's a former member of the House of Representatives, a former commissioner in Oyo State, and a former member of Oyo State House of Assembly. Professor Afiz Oladosu, thank you for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Professor Oladosu is the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, University of Ibadan. I am Edmund Obilo. I worked with Bosun Alayode to bring you this edition of the program. Tosin Ayeni Oladele is here. Yes, I also worked with Elizabeth Adebayo to bring you this edition of State Affairs. I am Edmund Obilo. Thank you for listening.